6 months. For 6 months, I went through a crisis, an existential crisis. I intentionally put myself through a state of worry, doubt, and frustration. Contemplated and questioned the meaning of my life. I was anticipating this crisis, and I unexpectedly received it. It was an introspective and thought-provoking ride. I went through multiple stages and felt as if my emotions have been resetted. I went through a 6-month period where I held nihilistic beliefs, became skeptical of my authenticity, forged optimistic values, and shifted my focus towards a worthwhile goal. A few weeks after I released part 1 of this experiment, I watched the movie Fight Club, and I was transformed by this movie. Yeah, I know I broke the first 2 rules, but that movie basically taught me something incredible. What Fight Club taught me was to break the social norm, to stop relying on hope and rely on myself, to live in the moment, to step outside my comfort zone and boldly jump into the unknown, to let the things that don't matter truly slide. What Fight Club taught me was nihilism. For those who don't know, nihilism is similar to existentialism, but rather than finding a purpose for oneself, the whole meaning of life, our existence, is meaningless, even if we do have a purpose. I was mainly intrigued by what Tyler Durden said in somewhere around the beginning, middle of the movie.
Self-improvement is masturbation, not self-destruction.
I was so fixated by his words, I didn't know why, but I heard this from somewhere. From a philosopher or a philosophy idea, self-destruction. Friedrich Nietzsche had a philosophy on the Übermensch, the Superman, the Overman. He believed that human evolution wasn't finished yet. It's something we can't become, but something we should strive towards. Nietzsche was saying that the Übermensch was a person who had the best approach to life. The Übermensch would make their own values and be independent. They would carve their own path. The Übermensch realized that they may need to threaten or even hurt people in the name of good things. The Übermensch realized that they may need to be selfish.
What are you doing in my house?
That they wouldn't be jealous of other people's success. They accepted suffering as a necessary component to achieving the things that will move humanity forward. How do we strive to be like the Übermensch? Like, we can't become the Übermensch, but how can we run towards the ideal, the concept of the Übermensch? By destroying ourselves repeatedly, over and over again, to build our values, principles, and philosophies, to only destroy them and start from the bottom all over again. Imagine the following scenario. You have a garden, and this garden is a metaphor for your life. You planting new seeds is a metaphor for self-improvement, building new habits, acquiring new skills. But rather than plant new seeds in your garden, take out the old withered plants. The withered plants are a metaphor for old habits, weak values, dead principles. They take up space in your garden, so you can't plant new seeds in your garden until you pull out the old withered plants from their roots and start from the beginning all over again. I believe that's what self-destruction is. The opposite of the Übermensch is called the last man. The last man is an individual who has given up, who has become docile. The last man doesn't take risks and avoids discomfort, only staying inside his comfort zone and overindulging in his pleasures and basic needs. Basically, the last man stays at the bottom of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs and remains there. He just wants to be there. It's hedonism to the absolute max. The last man fears conflict and stays in line with social norms. He fears of being called out or canceled. He not only brings himself down, but he also brings other people down as well. The last man hates the Übermensch for wanting to seek fulfillment by taking risks, sacrifices, and accepting pain to grow. The last man lives inauthentically, in bad faith, and does not want to grow. The last man lives in pure comfort in his bubble and is content with living ignorantly in it. That was one of many lessons Fight Club has taught me. Self-destruction, taking risks, putting yourself through pain, discomfort, and fear, all to grow and set you free. Without pain, without sacrifice, we would have nothing. For 2 months, I held this newly found and proud philosophy. I didn't care about anything or anyone. I was only concerned with the things that I cared about. I was a space monkey. I felt like I reached the end of this philosophical experiment. But was that really the end of this crisis? What if there was more to this nihilistic outlook on life? What if I could do better? What if I could be better? I became skeptical of this newly discovered philosophy and how I viewed the world. I may have adopted this nihilistic mindset, but I became doubtful of it real quick. I already enriched myself with the idea of existentialism in Jean-Paul Sartre's philosophy. I prefer the idea of having a purpose in a meaningless universe to no meaning at all. I was in this skeptical state for 2 months, searching and questioning whatever I found, whatever I discovered, whatever I came across. I was skeptical of everything and everyone. Then my skepticism led to worry. I felt like I was falling behind because I kept asking so many questions and was doubting everything. I started to care about things outside of my control, and I became frustrated at the things I saw in the world. Everyone does the same thing, with noticeable differences here and there. Following the most popular TikTok trend, canceling the next person on Twitter, or yelling at news anchors in front of a TV who don't even know we exist. We're all aimlessly walking around in a dark cave, viewing the world falsely and not questioning the shadows casted by the fire. We all live in bubbles, and nobody cares. This annoyed the hell out of me. I mean, how could people live in this state of ignorance and not question the bubbles that they're in? But then I remembered a Stoic quote by Marcus Aurelius. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Then my skepticism kicked in. Why am I getting annoyed by this world? Why am I concerned with things outside of my control? What am I to gain from getting frustrated with people who possibly want to live ignorantly and not question the shadows casted by the fire? Nothing. I can do nothing about it. So, therefore, I shouldn't worry about it. I came to accept that perhaps people may want to live that way. They listen to what their superiors tell them to do, overindulge in pleasures, and not act out on the freedom that they were born with. They prefer to live in their bubbles, soaking up endless information, projecting their perfect lives towards the other bubbles, and never question the bubble that they are currently in. And that's normal. No one is questioning what they're consuming or learning. People just don't seem to care at all. Nobody cares what they're consuming as long as they don't have to face the realization of them living in a matrix-like bubble in Plato's cave. People have their own needs and wants, their own desires and agendas. People are focused on the things that bring them pleasure, joy, and happiness, even if that happiness makes them live in complete ignorance. What I liked about Stoicism was the idea that your mind was a key factor to how you view the world around you. It taught me how to control my emotions, master self-control and discipline, and made me realize that I should always keep my expectations low. I began to practice Stoicism and immerse myself in everything Stoic related, from quotes to books to YouTube channels to even video games. One particular video game was God of War. What I love about God of War was Kratos teaching Atreus about self-control, discipline, and determination. I have a lot of memorable quotes by Kratos, but I think this one fits the chapter well.
The power of this weapon, any weapon, comes from here. But only when tempered by this. By the discipline, the self-control of the one who wields it. That is where the true strength of a warrior lies.
It reminds me of a Stoic quote by Seneca. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. But one saying from Kratos that stuck with me throughout this whole experiment was what he said to Atreus at the beginning of the game. And he said,
I'm sorry.
Do not be sorry. Be better.
Be better. That was ingrained into my head for a whole month throughout the rest of this whole experiment. Be better. I could be better. Better than who I was yesterday. I could be better today. So I made a vow to myself. I will strengthen my soul to be resilient and courageous. I will master my mind to control my emotions. I will sculpt my body as if it were a Greek statue. I wanted to be better. I felt invigorated, optimistic. I felt a fire within me ignite.